You guys remember in the early days of the reality shows on Discovery and TLC, we had stuff like American Chopper and the Biker Build-Off, and you remember they'd start with, you know, raw materials, and you'd watch the process of some masterpiece of art and engineering be created, and at the end of the show there would always be the unveiling. Well, in this here leather pouch, my friends, I don't think it's much of a masterpiece except for the blood, sweat, tears, and love that went into the mods, but we're going to have an unveiling of a formerly ugly duckling that has now been turned into a pretty cool knife. Stick with me, guys. We will open it up and talk about it. Hi gang, Rob here. It's the evening of 30 May 2015, and this is the unveiling segment of the show. The star of the show is the Columbia River Knife and Tool CRKT Hi Jinx titanium flipper made by Lionsteel in Maniago, Italia. Would you look at that? Oh, you know what? Before I show it to you, take a look at what it started out looking like. Here's a little footage of the before. Just, oh, there it goes. You'll not do that with your Sebenza, guys. Right hand, oh, there. Breaks it loose. Frankly, why have a locking knife? If that's going to be how you do it. Again, this big web here sticking up into the finger groove exacerbates that problem. If these two scales were flush in the finger groove, that wouldn't be an issue. So, is it a nice piece of pocket jewelry if nobody looks at it too closely? Yeah, it is. Is it a well-made knife with high quality and good engineering? No. So what are we going to do about this? Well, here's what we're going to do. Oh, by the way, plunge grind issues. The plunge grind of the knife stops about here. They did a nice job with some kind of a manual operation, though, thinning out that heel, although we've still got a nice little point and a little bit of a broadening edge. I like this little sway back right here, and I think it would be really effective if I could grip the knife like this. So we're going to cut a forward finger choil on this knife. We're going to remove this part of the lock bar that doesn't need to be there. We are going to round off this flipper tab, and I'm either going to try to true up that jimping and make it look right. If I can't, I'm going to get rid of it altogether, because when the knife is closed, I think it would actually look better gone. When it's open, you know, it's kind of funky anyway. It starts sunken into the handle and then rises up. Don't know how that's going to look if I remove it. It doesn't really look so sleek now. So I'm going to do all that work, and then I'm going to send this knife off to Toadstkr, I believe, and he is going to stonewash the blade and the frame. That will that'll kind of refinish the area where I work the frame, and I think the knife will look really good stonewashed anyway. Get rid of the billboard, which I really hate on this particular knife. And then I'm going to have Toadstkr send it down to 1allspub, have him put an edge on it, and both those guys will do videos, reviews, and to tell you about the progress they're making with the knife. Then we'll probably send it to the most anal knife guy we know, the king of cutlery OCD, Campfiretalk, to have him look at the knife, do a video on it, and critique our work, and then it'll come home. Okay, sorry to tease you guys like that. No, not really. Here's what we have now. Some of you might have seen this in various stages of completion if you watch Toadstkr's 1allspub or Campfiretalk's channel. because we sort of followed this knife throughout the process of its improvement. So let's talk about what's different, shall we? As you'll remember, and you guys feel free to go back and watch the first videos, this knife had an issue here at the spine. The spine was not ground perpendicular to the flats. It was really ground at a bad angle, which affected the jimping. There was only like 3 cuts of jimping, and they looked all jacked up. So the first thing I did was do the best I could to get rid of the jimping, make the spine appear to be square to the world, which was difficult to do because I had 3 different planes, one here, and one down here, none of which were true. So we made it look as good as we could and left it at that, finished it satin. Then we had a big nasty webbing that stuck up on this lock bar, and it made the knife really uncomfortable in hand. You don't need it to get lock bar access. It's super easy without it, and it looked kind of silly, so I pared it down quite a bit and refinished it a little bit. And then, as you'll remember, the knife had my usual pet peeve, my nitpick of the century, the extra long plunge grind followed by a sharpening notch that wasn't. We had a big flared heel at the back of the edge. And I thought, with this nice swale in the spine, wouldn't this knife function well with a forward finger choil? And let's just see, what we got. Guys, that is absolute money. And we had a flipper that was a little too big and had some, again, unsightly jimping. You know, for a knife that was Knife of the Year and had a supposed retail price of $500, in 2 places we had some jimping cut, and it was horrible. I mean, it looked like a 7th grade shop class project that went awry, and he turned it in anyway. And Lionsteel and CRKT did that and charged $500 for it. I got rid of the jimping, made the flipper a little more low profile, as you can see. Even stubby though it is, extremely effective at propelling the knife into action, even with my arthritic broken index finger on my left hand. So it's sort of a hybrid. It's not really a straight push down, it's not really a light switch, although you can light switch it, but you sort of bang your finger into the spine. It's really sort of a push switch flip kind of a thing, kind of a hybrid like the ZT808, which is just fine with me. Really kind of like it. So that's kind of what I did to make the knife better as I saw it. Then I thought, you know, it's kind of bland, so why don't we send it to Toadstkr, Rick out in Washington, for an acid stonewash. And what I really intended for him to do was just acid stonewash the blade, maybe satin the flats, acid stonewash the handle to give it some durability, you know, against jewelry and things like that. And he texted me while he was starting to work on it and said, "You mind if I just sort of use my creativity and go where it leads me on this one?" I said, "Absolutely." So he did something really cool. If you notice, the acid stonewash in the recesses of the handle, I think, works really well because the machining of those small grooves is so irregular. When there was nothing to sort of break it up, it looked really kind of horrendous. So the combination of the stonewashing in the recesses and then the hand rubbed satin on the flats of the handle really camouflage that and make the knife look super handsome. Don't you think? Let me give it a little wipe, because as you guys know, a fine hand rubbed satin finish shows fingerprints like nothing else, but that's okay. Look at that, would you? So the recesses and then the edges of the handle are left in the acid stonewash. And didn't it come out nice on that primary bevel? I think so. And then the last thing, Rick knew that spine was bugging me, and look what he did. He cut this gorgeous random kind of rock pattern in the spine, and then sanded the peaks so you get that nice sort of two-tone contrast of textures and finishes, which I think looks just awesome with the rest of the knife. So then off it went to the land of Arizona, because I thought, you know what, I got enough work in this knife, and I know I want some of my buddies to get to spend some time with it. So Rick sent it on to John at 1allspub, and he applied his wicked edge prowess to it with his usual geometry. I think I think he usually uses about 18 degrees per side, and I think he backed this one up to 17, maybe even 16, which is pretty neat because it reveals, although it is a chunky hunk of metal, it reveals a very thin profile behind the edge. Not a very broad secondary bevel, is it, guys? And this big chunk of 200 thousandths thick super steel turns out to be a pretty wicked slicer with that thinly ground edge. Yeah, it's not really going to maneuver an S-curve very easily, but straight slice cuts, no problem at all. Definitely sharp, definitely an effective slicer. We've had some issues with this blade as it has made the round. When I sent it to Rick, it wasn't flipping real well. He took it apart. I think maybe one of the bearing assemblies was in upside down. It's possible. I just sort of threw it together and sent it to him. So he put it back together and relubed it, and it flipped better. And when I got it home, because I know it had an acid stonewash and then it's had some use, and it hung out in Rick's shop for a while, and I thought, just for good measure, I'm going to take it apart, give it a really good clean, and then I used my my newest method for lubricating caged ball bearings. And basically, I think while I was in the shower one morning, this occurred to me. Rather than try to keep oil in them, why don't I just pack them like a wheel bearing with some Finish Line Extreme Fluoro Grease, which is a really good, less expensive alternative to CRK's fluorinated grease. So that's what this is rolling with right now. Gives it sort of a hydraulic feel. One thing I don't like about ball bearing knives is that I seem to feel and hear each one of them rolling around individually as the knife travels through its arc, and it kind of bugs me. It just does. So now with that grease in there sort of dampening things, it's just smoother. Not freer, smoother. See my hand looking for a thumb stud there? Yeah, I'm still not a flipper guy. Let's see, I've got this pivot cranked down about as hard as it can be and still let the blade move, and I think our centering is pretty good, but it's not quite perfect. It favors the offside just a little bit, but it's looking pretty darn good right now. Maybe it's settling in right in the middle. It's awful good. And there's of course no blade play, even if I drop it down to the detent ball. Absolutely zero side play. Our lockup, pretty early, maybe a little earlier than I like it. Kind of hard to see in this light, but it's 25-30%. And if you watch Rick's video and maybe John's, you know that this knife's got sort of an intermittent sticking problem. Right now it's running number 2 pencil lead on the blade tang where the lock bar interfaces with it. And right now at this moment, just about 0 stick. Until the knife breaks in, I'm sure I will reapply Mr. Pencil. Let's kind of take a close look at Rick's work here. I like the way he did the satin, just leaving the shadow of that CRKT logo, but got rid of everything on the primary bevel. So it's not quite a sterile knife, but it's pretty close. So you know what, guys? Although it's still not a probably still not a knife that is of a design and a weight and a profile of blade that I'm going to carry every day. It's so special now because it's had the love of some of my buddies, my brothers, put into it. And it's working just about as well as a Hi Jinx can work, I believe, and the improvements in the design of the knife just make it such a pleasure in hand. Way nicer than it was when it was new. And every grip now is just beautiful. I have no flipper digging into the web of my hand in a draw cut or into my pinky in a reverse grip. As I said, the forward choil is just an amazing power cutting grip. I think I'm pretty happy with it. You know, I was thinking as it spent time away from me that maybe I'd raffle it or maybe I'd sell it or something. No plans of that for now, as I have it in hand and get to use it a little bit. I'm gonna hold on to this. You know why? Because it's part of the community and it's part of the story. So my $40 investment raffle knife from my buddy Brett that I really didn't care about too much has now managed to weasel its way into the family. How cool is that? Just thought y'all would like to see it. Grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and the YouTube knife community Hi Jinx are sharp.